What is up? Good morning. How is everybody doing today? I have something very interesting to talk about today. People who talk about providing liquidity always talk about impermanent loss. And one of the things that we know about society, or just human nature, is that people avoid loss. Psychologically, loss is hurt about twice as much as gains do. Meaning, if you lost $100, that's more painful psychologically than gaining $100, right? Just think about for yourself. If you were to lose $100, right, versus you were to find $100, yes, it provides joy to find $100, right? But the loss from a psychological standpoint is much greater for the $100 that you lose than the $100 that you gain. And when you have pundits in the crypto space that create new nomenclature or ways of describing impermanent loss so that it scares people, and you layer that on top of people's psychology that losses hurt more than gains, then it creates an opportunity where people are scared or adverse to losses, so they avoid those things. But in LP, you can actually earn abnormally high returns, which shouldn't be the case in an efficient market, right? If you study the efficient market, theory by Merton and there's there's two researchers who put this efficient market hypothesis together that kind of like a lot of traditional finance follows. And so I wanted to talk about that. Is impermanent loss real? So the first thing we're going to get into is just real quick, what is LP and why does this like happen, right? Then what is impermanent loss? And then we're going to talk about can you avoid impermanent loss, and something that I'm personally testing right now to see if I can avoid it. And what would you define as avoiding impermanent loss, or like how would you go about doing that? So with that being said, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam. If you are returning, it's good to freaking see you. If you have any thoughts, we'll jump into the chat afterwards. Good morning, Rusty, and good morning, Jack. If you guys have thoughts or questions or ideas, let me know in the comments, and later on in the show, we will talk about them or cover them. So, what is LP? Liquidity providing. Effectively, LP this is the first thing we're going to get into, and then we're going to get into what is impermanent loss, and then how can you potentially avoid that. LP is simply, you're becoming the market maker, right? That's why it's called an AMM, right? An automated market maker. It's a formula that allows anybody to make the market, right? And one of the benefits of making a market is that you get fees, right? From everybody. Think of myself. Say I own a warehouse in a neighborhood or in a town, and I decide to create a farmer's market where I let everybody come in there to sell their goods. And because I created this marketplace, what do I get to do? I get to charge everybody a fee. You want to come to my farmer's market and sell your shit? Well, let me take a fee from you of $100 a table or $200 a table, right? And then people come there, and hopefully you get your money back, right, in terms of selling more shit. But with an AMM, right, an automated market maker, something like Uniswap, you, instead of a centralized entity that gets all the fees, as we just talked about, me in the farmer's market example, you actually get the fees. So that's what LP is. And to understand how you could potentially avoid impermanent loss with LP, you need to understand what LP is. The simplest way to understand LP is that it is an opportunity cost. You are sitting here listening to this video. You could be cutting your toenails. This is an opportunity cost because you could have gone and cut your toenails. You maybe have a wife or girlfriend, right? I'm just speaking to men because there's probably fucking no women that actually watch this. Having that wife or girlfriend is an opportunity cost because there's 4.5 billion women out there, and you chose that one woman. So that's an opportunity cost for the other women that you could have been with or partnered with, right? That's simply what it is, right? You could have been with whoever you wanted to be with, right? And maybe the stories here tell you can't, right? But the idea is the same. Impermanent loss is an opportunity cost. If somebody provides liquidity, right, they're earning those fees, and you have A and B, and say asset A has a 10x, and asset B only has a 2.5x, right? Well, what do we know about the psychology of people in markets? People love buying shit that's going up, right? So if this takes place over, say, the course of 6 months, where one has a 10x and the other has a 2.5x, well, then during that time, you will be selling the thing that is performing the best, and you will be buying the thing that is underperforming, the 2.5x. So if you are doing this, say in what doesn't matter if it's V3 or V2, you will effectively at the end of this 6-month period of time, you will own more of the underperforming asset and less of the asset that performed better, the 10x. So in that is impermanent loss. If you just held asset B, the one that performed at 10x, then you'd have a 10x in your bag. But because you decided to provide liquidity, you have instead a 2.5x on the A part of your bag, plus all the fees throughout this period, plus a portion of the 10x, right? And when you factor in all three of those pieces, right? Well, I have a 2.5x on the bag that I did have of asset A. I have all the fees that I've generated over 6 months, and I have a little portion of asset B that did have a 10x. Because if you're providing liquidity on V2, or if you're using V3 and you continue to follow the market by adjusting your concentrated liquidity positions, like you'll own some asset, you'll own some of B, right? Which is the one that had the 10x. And throughout that time, you will have sold at higher prices as you adjusted, or like as the market adjusts to this, whether it's using V3 to adjust your concentrated positions, or V2, it just happens because they're not going to. In V2, you can't physically sell all of one asset, just because how that AMM works on V2. So maybe instead of a 10x, you're left with a 5.5x. So impermanent loss is that 4.5x. You could have had 4.5x higher, whatever your bag is, but because you only received the 2.5x on asset A, the fees throughout that 6 months, the tiny bit of B you have left, and the selling of B throughout that period of time, you're left with a 5.5x. Well, that's the same idea as saying, well, you could have moved to Florida and not paid any income tax, but you live wherever the fuck you live, right? You could, like I came from South Carolina. I'm paying 7%. 7%. So if you're making 100 grand, you're paying $7,000 per year. Roughly, it could start at $15,000, right? But $7,000 divided by 12 months, or $583 per month. You could have put $583 per month into an investment, into improving yourself as a human, right? Improving who you are, investing into yourself through coaching or whatever it is, almost $600 a month, right? If assuming you live in South Carolina, maybe you live in California or like New York, right? And that's an opportunity cost. So can you actually avoid this? Is it possible to avoid impermanent loss? Well, how would you know if you avoided impermanent loss if you're providing liquidity? Well, let's assume that you have two assets, right? If you have, say, one of those, let's assume also that you have a preference for A or B, and say you think that A is going to perform better than B. or B is going to perform better than A. That's the belief that you have, right? So when you assume that you have two assets and you assume that one is going to perform better than the other one, then you're going to probably hold very little of one and more of the other that's going to perform better. So at the start of performing LP, what you could do is write down the total number of tokens. So you're like, hey, today, middle of November, I want to provide LP. I have 1 million of token B, and I think that one's going to perform better. But I'm a scared little beach, and I think that I want to avoid impermanent loss. Okay. So you set up this LP position. This is exactly what I'm doing, right? Now, you earn fees during this time. So every day, hypothetically, like, you could earn a couple $100 per day, right? Depending on how big your bag is and your concentrated position and the pairs you're using, etc., right? And the bag size you're using. The fees you earn every day are going to be in the form of asset A and asset B. Because when you look at how an AMM works, if somebody has, say, Ethereum, and they want to go to wrapped Bitcoin, so they have Ethereum, they come into Uniswap, they pay a fee in Ethereum, right? So that's 0.3%. They pay 0.3%, and then they're swapping their Ethereum into wrapped Bitcoin. Excuse me. Now, if somebody comes to the table and they have wrapped Bitcoin and they want Ethereum, they pay 0.3%, or whatever the pool fee is, generally it's 0.3%, in wrapped Bitcoin. So as a liquidity provider, those are the people who are in the market, right? The people who are in the market earn Ethereum or they earn wrapped Bitcoin, right? So the fees that are earned are in the two coins that you're providing. Now, every time you go to pull those, you can convert them all to your preferred asset. So in this example, say it was asset B, right? Because you think asset B is going to perform better over the long 6-month period of time, right? So in day one, right, you recorded how many tokens you had. You're like, I have 1 million tokens. Cool, fantastic, right? But I'm selling 1 million, say 500,000 of those tokens to asset A. I'm going to use those to provide liquidity, but I'm scared of impermanent loss. Right? So you want to try to potentially avoid this. Well, there's 3 scenarios that can play out with this, right? Doing that strategy I just mentioned. Okay, so say every 2 days you earn $250. So you can pull that $250, say 50% of it is in asset B and 50% is in asset A. Well, then you could take the $125 that you earned in asset A and convert it to asset B, move that to, say, a different wallet, so that you know, hey, okay, I just got 100,000 of those tokens, or I just got 65,000 of those tokens, or whatever it is, right? So you take those tokens and you convert them to asset B, which is the one you want, and you move that to a different wallet. And every time you pull more fees, you just repeat the process. This is exactly what I'm doing. So it's been maybe 3 weeks or so. Yeah, about 3 weeks or so, right? Well, how would you know if you can eliminate impermanent loss? Well, as you do this, right, you provide liquidity, you take the fees and you convert them into your preferred asset. Over time, and I'm transferring to a different wallet just for tracking purposes, right? But as you do that and you transfer them to a different wallet, then what happens? Well, in that other wallet, the balance grows, right? The balance continues to grow, right? So at some point, to start with, say you had 1 million tokens and now you're growing that balance by, like, say, every day or 2 days, or every time you hit a certain dollar amount in your profit, you can pull that and then put it into asset A or asset B, whatever you prefer. As that balance continues to grow, you are reducing the risk of impermanent loss because you're building your coin count in this other thing, right? Now, this could be taking place during a rising market, like where B is outperforming A, right? Or it could be taking place in an environment where during that, say, example, 6 months, you have say 3 months of kind of sideways action, ups and downs, and then 3 months of like just skyrocketing where asset B performs at 10x and asset A is only performing at 2.5x. Well, during that 3.5 months, you could potentially completely eliminate the impermanent loss by accumulating more tokens and then converting them to asset B and putting them into another wallet. So that's exactly what I'm testing right now to see if I can completely eliminate impermanent loss. So it's only been 2 to 3 weeks so far, but it's looking very promising. I think I didn't track the time, I don't think, but I am sending them to a separate wallet to test this. And in the 2 to 3 weeks that I have been testing this, I have probably about 18 to low 20% of the totality of my bag. So say, for example, there was 1 million tokens, and then they just decided to take this strategy, what I'm talking about, to see if they could eliminate impermanent loss. And they were taking the profits whenever they took profits, whether it's daily, when it moves out of the range, whatever their prerogative is, and they're transferring to another wallet. Well, as they do this, impermanent loss goes down, right? So in the 2 to 3 weeks that I've done this, I've been able to accumulate somewhere like around 180,000 of that million, or around 200,000 plus of these tokens in 3 weeks. So this means that within, say, potentially 3 months, impermanent loss is like zero, because I've been able to acquire all the coins that I already had while still having an LP bag. So I think that the notion, the belief that impermanent loss is a scary thing, right, is due to people just not understanding impermanent loss, to people not understanding psychology and how people think, and not understanding that you could eliminate this, at least, right? We're early. I'm testing this and I'm providing this value to you guys. Hopefully it's valuable. If it is, thumbs up or share this with somebody else so that other people can learn this stuff, because these returns are not going to last. And other smart people are not talking about this stuff to you because they want to capture all those gains for themselves, right? And their friends. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. Hex down under. Hey, what's up in Australia? What's Gucci? What's Gucci? Junior Beltrer. Hello. How are you? Good morning. The pragmatic guy. Good morning, boss. Finally catching you. Yes. Sweet. Thank you, sir. Off to sleep. 5 a.m. rise. Keep up the good work. Hey, I appreciate you, bro. Human hex trafficker. Hey, what's up, bro? I haven't seen you in the chat in a little while, whether it's here or with the GRC. So my personal goal is to see, right? So I started this, let's say mid-October-ish, right? Mid to like the last third of October. By the end of 2022, I think I can eliminate probably at least 50% of impermanent loss, meaning I have a bag of asset A and B, while at the same time, I've accumulated at least 50% of my original bag's tokens. I repeat that. So you say you have $10,000 of an asset, and now you put that into an LP bag, right? As you earn fees, you pull those fees and you convert them into your preferred asset. Now, you own some of your preferred asset by providing liquidity in that asset, plus you're accumulating a separate bag of that. I think I can accumulate $5,000 worth of, and remember, that could fluctuate, right? That $10,000 bag could be $6,000 if prices go down, right? Could be $18,000 if prices go up. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I'm testing this out, because if what I'm doing here goes through and I'm able to completely eliminate impermanent loss, wow, this is a complete game changer and completely negates a lot of the garbage out there around impermanent loss to scare people out of earning fees, right? So I think this is, for me, definitely a very interesting test to go through and complete. If I'm able to increase this is also going to be interesting. I have a quick update too on leveraging fiat into crypto. I used a credit card. And by the way, I'm not saying you should do any of the things I do in these videos. This is just for a entertainment education. Like, if you don't understand how leverage works, how credit cards work, how all this stuff happens or works, don't fucking do this, please. Like, you're going to probably ruin yourself if you don't understand how this works. But for the idea of full transparency and helping people learn, I took $7,000 from a credit card and I put that into crypto, right? So that $7,000 putting into crypto, hypothetically speaking, right? Earning fees. Now, it's been probably a little bit over a month since I've been doing this. And I've already paid probably about a month and a half. I think I've been tracking the dates, but I don't remember the first of I think it was towards the beginning of October. I've already been able to pay back 20 or 30% of the credit card debt using credit card debt to make money. And there's two ways to leverage. You can leverage other people's time and you can leverage money, right? So you can leverage both of those things. And I'm leveraging other people's money to make myself money. And if you're paying 20% annually on a credit card and you can earn 8% a month, you can do the math on that, right? And you can pay that shit off very quickly and make a profit using other people's money. And then you're just left with a bag of crypto that your credit card company paid for and you don't have any debt left. So this strategy to eliminate impermanent loss is not applicable to any LP, right? No, it is. It is. You could apply this to any LP. I think it will be far easier to do this with V3. I'm not a fan of V2. You know, that includes like Pancake or Sushi or like all these other platforms that are just copies of V2 Uniswap. It'll be way easier with concentrated liquidity because concentrated liquidity is capital efficient, where V2 is capital inefficient, meaning you have lower returns. Excited to see how this plays out. Jack, me too. I am very much excited about this. Matthew, good morning, sir. How are you doing? Pragmatic. 2 days ago, the USDC Hedron LP was so low of USDC that fees was close to 70% just by providing USDC. Yes, people don't understand what is going on here. You can earn ridiculous fees with providing liquidity. Hypothetically speaking, I may have earned $3,000 in one single day providing liquidity. That was 3 months ago, maybe, or something like that. But hypothetically speaking, just in case the IRS watches this video, that was just a hypothetical example. Okay. Now, because you do have to consider taxes. I have to go to the gym. I appreciate you guys. We'll be back hopefully tomorrow morning. There's a new blockchain that I'm super excited about. Very, very interesting. Just to give a teeny bit of a preview on that, this blockchain is an improvement on POS, right? Because POS incentivizes centralization, which, if you think about the trilemma, right, you have decentralization, security, and scalability, right? So by going more centralized with POS, you increase risk, right? Which is, so security goes down, decentralization goes down, scalability goes up. Well, those are the trilemma pieces. Well, this actually solves this. And this is something I was talking about with nodes 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago. Node operators are not getting paid. Well, what if you were paid as a node operator? You get an increase in decentralization because node operators expand decentralization by giving them a financial incentive. This is literally what I said 4 months ago, right? 4 or 5 months ago, whenever it was. This needs to be an incentive. Otherwise, it's not going to happen from a financial standpoint. So you increase decentralization. And through doing this, you also increase security and you incentivize scalability so that you can incentivize all 3 parts of the trilemma. That's going to be for a future video. I still have to read through the white paper. Appreciate you guys. I got to go to the gym. I'll be back at 11 a.m. EST. So if you guys like the Crypto in the Morning show, we'll be back at 11 a.m. this morning. Appreciate you. Talk to you soon.